Ricky gave you the nice version of the story of the fall of 1996. The darkest moments of our life. When I felt like the gates of hell had opened up beneath me and I'd fallen into hell. And I knew the goodness of God. I knew He loved me. I knew He loved me so much. I was in the middle of His will, and I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. But with one phone call, my entire life changed. People I loved were gone from the earth. Some of you heard this story. I don't want to go into all the details. When I got a phone call and said there's been an accident, they started going down the list. I had to write down these names of my dear friends. And I knew that their families were in the other room waiting for word. And I had to take that piece of paper that weighed 10,000 pounds and drag it into the other room. Read the names of those who had survived. And the families rejoiced. And then I had to read the other names. And people fell on the floor in agony and cried. Started a journey of about the next 6 months of absolute hell. During that season of my life, the only word the Lord would give me was, I love you. My love has not changed. I love you through this. The only sermons He would give me, Romans chapter 8, I love you. What shall separate you from the love of... And I wanted to just spit back at heaven and say, God, you are stinking no good. You'd let me live through this. I would gladly give my life. I would have gone on that mission. I wish I'd have been driving and taken the brunt of that cement truck hitting that van. Because then I'd be with the Lion of the tribe of Judah as one of the cloud of witnesses, and I wouldn't have to be going through this and dealing with your mess. Because evidently you're not good enough. It's hell. Every week I would say, God, you got to say something to this congregation. We're all in grief. I'd say, just go tell them I love them. Talk about the wonders of my love and the way my love will change everything. If you can just embrace my heart, you'll understand everything. And the biggest hypocrite on the face of the planet would stand up behind this sacred desk, and I'd open the Word. And I'd say words I didn't believe. He's good. His mercy endures forever. His love changes everything. I got to the place where on Saturday nights I would go out to the field beside the church. You ever heard of suicide by cop? You know, people just do stupid things hoping that the cops will kill them. I wanted to do suicide by God. I would go out in the middle of that field and I would scream every dirty, rotten name I could possibly get to come across my lips in heaven, hoping that somehow a lightning bolt would come out of heaven. I wouldn't have to stand behind that desk again tomorrow and talk about the never-changing love of the Father. And one night, curled up in a fetal position on the grass as the dew fell, I screamed at God all I could scream until I was tired. I finally laid down in exhaustion. And I heard His gentle voice. My loving kindness is better than life. My loving kindness is better than life. My loving kindness is better than life. words sunk into my heart so deeply. All eternity changed for me. My hell opened up, and the hand of the Father reached down in that place and lifted my heart. And my grief was over. My life was changed in that moment because His love found me in the darkest place I'd ever visited. I went in broken. I walked into that field, a shred. I walked out with my head held high and my shoulders back, singing glory to my Father, because His loving kindness is better than life. My lips shall praise you. Thus will I bless you. Your name is high above, and your love is enough. Suddenly, death didn't mean anything anymore because I was wrapped up in His love. I went in broken. I came out resurrected. It changes you. It changes you. We want the Lion of the tribe of Judah to be a little cuddly lion. But I want to tell you, he's not safe. He's not safe. He does what he wills, and he goes where he wants, and he says what he says, and he doesn't ask for our counsel, and he doesn't change his ways because I resist or I shout at heaven. He's the conquering God. Several months ago, we were in Argentina, and one of the students came up to us one day and said, "Hey, there's this experience that I want to go have, and I'm leaving in a few days. And can we go to this little zoo outside of Buenos Aires? Let's get on this bus and let's go out here. And they have lions there you can walk with." You know, when we were in the school and they were talking about going and walking with the lions, that sounded like a really good idea. You're in a nice, safe place, and it's this, it's like a bucket list thing. You could just go and walk with the lions and talk with the lions and pet the lions because they're so sweet. And the closer we got to this place, the more I thought, this is not smart. And then you go and see them, and the pictures are always taken with a long lens from a long way away. I've got, anyway, you can go on our Facebook and look and there's, if you go back to April, there's a couple videos and stuff, but they kind of sneaked us into it. They took us to the little place where the babies were first. And they told us how they had tamed the lions, and the lions were raised with alpha dogs. And in every one of the lion cages at that little zoo, there were sometimes small mama dogs. And though the lions were 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old and huge, could have devoured the dog with one bite, they were still the alphas. So they took us to the nursery where all the little babies were taken away from the lion mamas and given to the dog mamas. And we could take the little baby cubs, and we have these beautiful, this wonderful picture. One of my favorites is Mel's got this little lion cub, and she's got her little face down next to it, and the little lion cub is kind of smiling, and she's smiling, and it's like, oh, isn't that sweet? And then they said, okay, let's go over to the enclosure where the lions are. And we walk out, and I begin to get closer and closer, and the lion got bigger and bigger. And I thought, this is not a smart idea. Have you ever been looking at that one thing you're going to do, and the knot in the pit of your stomach just gets bigger and bigger until it just takes up the whole space of your stomach, and then starts pressing your lungs out so you can't breathe and you can't talk, and you're thinking, I came all the way out here to do what? That booger's head is that long. His mouth opens up and my head is just like a chicken nugget. And I am a chicken and it's a nugget. There's nothing there but... And I'm thinking, okay, Steve, you can do this. You can do this. And then, as they're standing there telling us about this, one of the lions who's chewing on this set of ribs, you can hear the crunching of the bones as he's laying on this table, crunching this set of ribs. And I look over there, and these ribs are gigantic. And they're crunching, and he hears another lion across the zoo. And he gets up, and he leans forward, and he gets down off of that thing, and he goes over to the corner of the cage, and he opens his mouth. And I'm thinking, this is the dumbest thing I have. Where is the exit? I want out of here. You could see the breath coming out of his mouth. You could feel the tremble in the ground as he said, "Don't you dare. This is my space. This is my place. These are my people. Stay away. They're mine." And then they let us in the cage. And I'm thinking, please see me as one of your people. I tried to look as much like a dog as I could. If you watch the video with Melanie, she kind of tenderly goes over. And there was a protocol. There were things you did and there were things you didn't do, because the lion was safe as long as you were submitted to the handler. But if you didn't follow protocol, you were going to be viewed as an enemy. And remember those ribs? The lion has roared. Amos says in chapter 3, verse 7, the lion has roared. Who can stand? The Lion of the tribe of Judah is a conqueror. He does not shrink back, and he does not run away. He was not like the zoo animals raised by dogs. He was raised by King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He was established in the heavens from forever to forever. He has never been successfully challenged. He has never been successfully overcome. He has stood as King of Kings and Lord of Lords for the entire time of his existence. He is from forever to forever. And he is conqueror. Paul, we don't know all of Paul's journeys. There was a time between the time he held the coats at Stephen's martyrdom until the time he was on the road to Damascus. We don't know where he went in there. But if you would allow me one conjecture in this whole message, could I just assume that this young student in studying the cultures and the places and looking for knowledge and understanding of his world, can I just conjecture that he may have gotten on the road, the Appian Way, the Roman road, and ended up in the Roman Colosseum? Can I just conjecture that he may have been there on a day when there was a double gate? There was a double gate where the Roman road met the Roman city and the place that had the walls and was protected in the safe place. And in that double gate, there were two arches. Just throw up one of the arches. We call them. Have we all ever been to Paris? And at the end of the Champs-Élysées, there's a huge arch. It's an arch of triumph. This is in the ruins of Rome, built to celebrate a conqueror coming home. There on the Appian Way, as it comes into the Roman city, there's a double gate. It's one of those with double arches. And there's these huge gates. And there's a protocol to the gates. One side is the gate that's named after one of the greatest defeats in Roman history. And the other is called the Gate of Triumph. When you come into the city, you always come in through the defeated gate. It's the protocol of the city. That door of triumph, we'll talk about that in a moment, but you always enter, the place of entrance is through the gate of defeat. The gate of brokenness. You come in through that gate. When you come in, you always come in with a sense of your brokenness. When they opened the gate to that lion cage, I went in with a sense of, I am nothing. I am powerless in the face of the conqueror. He could devour me with one mouthful. When people come to our churches, they may have dressed up with the best thing that they have. When we as pastors take this sacred book and we stand it behind this desk, we don't come here because we're strong. I didn't get here because I had it all right. I didn't get here because I had all the answers. I came into this kingdom the same way we all did, through the gate of defeat, gate of brokenness. But there's an overarching philosophy of the Roman kingdom that if you come in the broken gate and you spend time in this realm, in this place of the kingdom where the republic is strong. I'm not talking about the United States. I'm talking about the Roman environment. When you walk into the environment, no matter how you come in, you always come in through this gate and you come into this environment. And if you spend time in this environment where the king is king and the government is on his shoulders, and of his peace and his kingdom there is no end, if you come into this place, when you get back on the road and it's time to leave, you don't go through the same gate. There's an exit. And when you leave the place of his presence, there's an exit called the exit of triumph, the arch of triumph. You walk out. You come in broken. But you walk out through the gate of triumph. 10 o'clock Sunday morning. What happens? Coffee shop, 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon. When the believers gather and they take their coffee and they sit and talk about the goodness of God, what happens? The broken walk in to an environment created because the kingdom has come, because the kingdom is not a place. It's in you, it's in your mouth, it's in your heart, it's an environment that you carry. And if the broken walk in, they're not encountering you. They're not encountering your goodness. They're not encountering your love. They're encountering the God that you carry, the conqueror, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And you may be whispering over your coffee about his goodness, but it's a roar to the broken. It's a roar to the lost. It's a roar to them. They walk in and say, "What is this you're talking about?" When they leave your presence, they're authorized to go out the gate of triumph. Because you carry the presence of the King. And when you prophesy, the lion roars. When you declare his goodness, they hear his voice. And when he speaks, he has power behind his word. It's not an empty word. It's a word that shifts everything. When he speaks, everything changes. And you can't whisper over a cup of coffee about his goodness without it changing something around you, because somebody came in through that gate. But they're going to go out through that gate. Because I'm a gatekeeper in the house of the Lord. I'd rather be a gatekeeper in the house of the Lord. Have all the riches and all the things. David cries out, "I've got this throne and I've got this place, but I'd rather be a gatekeeper in the house of the Lord." Let me open the gates. Can I just tell you that somewhere in Paul's experience in his early days, I think he was in Rome. If he wasn't in Rome, he heard somebody who had been there and seen the triumph. See, the triumph was the parade held. When the emperor had sent out an army, and they've gone and they've conquered and they've overwhelmed their enemies, and they come back home, they're awarded a triumph. Not everybody, but everybody who is part of the expedition gets to be part of the triumph. I just want that to sink in a second. Everybody who is part of the expedition gets to be part of the triumph. Somewhere Paul had heard or seen or experienced this army. Oh. In every culture, there are allegorical pictures of who Christ is. You know how you know who's leading the triumph? They're the one dressed in red. You know how you tell who's with them? Who's part of the conquering army? They've been dressed in white robes. They assemble in the field outside the city. And all of their life they've been told you're just broken, you're just nothing. But on this day, you see, we have ushers. Ushers in religion that guard the gates. And we make sure that religion tells you which gate you have to enter. Oh, we judge people by what they have on. It's nothing new. It's Jesus dressed it. Somebody comes in. You give them honor because of the way they're dressed. You give them honor because of the ring they have on their finger. You give them honor because of this or that. And we have ushers that stand outside the gates. These religious folks that judge everybody that comes. Oh, no. You need to enter over here at the broken gate. You poor thing, you get over here. But if you've ever been part of a triumph, if you've ever been led in triumph, when you approach the gate, you are automatically ushered to the triumphal side. Everybody else enters through the broken gate. But when you've been part of the triumph, and you're dressed in the robes of righteousness, granted to you by the triumphant one, the gates swing open. And they say, oh, no, you come. Those who are entering by the broken gate watch those who are coming in the other gate, and they say, oh, wow. What they don't know is it's not because of my victory. It's because I followed the one dressed in red. And he led me through this gate, and it's now mine. Paul says things like this. It wrecked me the other day when I was reading Romans chapter 8. Turn there with me. You know the chapter. It's the most glorious chapter in the whole Bible. For some reason, I'd never seen the challenge in the middle of it. See, because if you're a victor, the enemy has already seen your robe. There's somebody going to be trying to usher you into the gate of the defeated. Somebody going to be telling you that you're not good enough, you're not wise enough, you're not smart enough, you're not victorious enough. You need to stay at the gate of the defeated. Just to set up a little bit, start reading about 24. For we are saved in this hope. But hope that is seen is not. For why does one hope for what he does not yet see? For if we hope for what we do not see, we eagerly await for it with perseverance. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weaknesses. We don't even know how to pray as we ought. But the Spirit himself makes intercession for us with groanings that can't be uttered. Now he who searches the hearts makes intercession for the saints according to the will of God. And we know that all things work together for the good to those who love God and to those who are called according to his purpose. For whom he foreknew, he predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that we might be the firstborn among many brothers. Moreover, whom he predestined, those he also called. Whom he called, he justified. And whom he justified, these he also glorified. But what shall we say to these things? If God be for us, if the lion has roared over you, if you followed the one in red, what shall we say? If God is for us, who can be against us? He did not even spare his own Son, but delivered him up for us all. How shall he not with him give us freely all things. Who is he that condemns? It's Christ who died and furthermore is risen, who is even at the right hand of God, who also makes intercession for us. See, the enemy is always condemning you. He's always standing outside this gate saying, you're not really a triumphant person. You're not really been changed. You've not really been transformed. You don't really belong. Have you ever heard this? You don't belong. The enemy will try to come into the body of Christ and try to separate you and divide you and give you some kind of a self-image that says you don't belong. You just stay at the broken gate. That's not what he says. If he is for us, what accusation stands? What keeps us out? 35, who shall separate us from the love of Christ? I want you to get this. This is the envelope of his love. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation? I'm going to come back to this list in a second. Tribulation or distress, persecution, famine, nakedness, peril, sword. And is it written, for your sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. 37. Everybody say this word. Yet. Yet. Everybody put your finger up. Yet. Yet. Does it mean we're never going to have any of those things come at us? Yet. In most of these things, some of these, every once in a while in these things, it could happen that in these things, for some people in these things, if you've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's and you've done it all right enough, maybe you can have a momentary victory. For one moment of your life, you're gonna stand up and be strong, and you're gonna realize I did something right. Hallelujah. And then it's over. No. Yet, in all these things, we. Touch somebody. You're my we. You're my we, Ricky. Casey, you're my we. You're my we. When I walk into that office, you're my we. You're doing the stuff. You're just keeping things going, but you're part of the we. We are not just conquerors. We are more than conquerors. The lion has roared. Under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, Paul sits down and he pens these words. I have been with him, and I know this. In all these things, we are more than Over in Corinthians, he writes this. Thanks be to God, who always leads us. No. I want you in that door over there. Enter in. I know it's going to be countercultural. Everybody else is coming out over here, but you're going in. Everybody else is running away, but you're headed in. He always guides us into the door of triumph. He always causes us But I want you to understand, He doesn't send us out for triumph by ourselves. He always leads us in triumph. If you keep your eyes on the one, you will always be led in triumph. For He is more than a conqueror. In the Old Testament, they are facing an absolutely overwhelming group of this association of kings that have united all of their strength and brought their armies to the very gates of the city. And they go into prayer and they say, prophets, tell us what to do. Prophets! Where's my prophet? The lion needs to roar here. We got a problem that's way over our heads. Prophets, what do we do? Here's what we see. I think we just need to put all the fighting utensils in the back. Put all the armor back. Let's find some worshipers. The ones who know the presence of the lion who roars. Let's put them at the front of the army. Our enemies have decided that we're going to have a parade of defeat today, that we're going to be triumphed, and we're going to be taken back captive into their lands. What are we going to do? Let's find somebody who knows how to find the Lion of the tribe of Judah and bring his presence, and let's follow the presence. And so they design a triumph. Because the lion roars through the prophet gives them a strategy to respond to the impossible situation of the moment. We wonder why the church is defeated, because we don't like the voice of God. We've silenced the voice of God. It's too messy. We want the safe lion. We don't want the one who challenges us. We don't want the one who makes us do something. Now, really, the armies, the guys with the armor and the weapons, they're thinking, it's a pretty good idea. Let's put those other guys out there. If you're a worshiper, it wasn't a very good idea. It was not a safe day to be on the worship team. Oh, Jesus. What if he doesn't come? See, I long for worship teams that don't talk about the next song or the thing they like. Tell me about my experience. Tell me about the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Speak to me of the one who leads me in triumph. Speak to me of the one that I can follow any place, any time, and I know he's going to lead me in triumph. Put him out front. Worship team, we got people who came in through the broken gate. Tell them who the Lion of the tribe of Judah is. Sing the song of glory. Sing the song of worship that brings his presence. Because in his presence, there is transformation. And he will lead them in triumph. They came in broken. They came to your house. They don't need a canned sermon you got off the internet last night at 10 o'clock. They need somebody who's been with the lion who is not safe. They've been with somebody who has wrestled with God and prevailed and walks with a limp. They need the voice of somebody who has had his ear pressed against the heart of the Father, who declares his glory and his goodness. Worshipers, I don't care how many hours you spend practicing your technique. The Give me a touch of the lion. Speak of his goodness and bring his presence, because he always leads in triumph. Talk of the blood of Christ, in which his robes are drenched. Because Mark, when he died on a cross, he cried out, "It is finished." You don't get a triumph until the battle's over. Come on. You don't get a triumph until the battle is over. Not until the enemy has been wounded, but until the battle is over. He always leads us in triumph. Well, I'm just battling with the devil today. He's just been all over my back. He's just chasing me and he's hurting me, and there's all kinds of stuff going on around me. It's just terrible. It's just the devil. Bless his holy name. Shut up! Tell me about the cross. Tell me about the empty grave. Tell me about the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Tell me about his beautiful name that's above every other name. That at that name every knee bows, every tongue confesses. Pastor, we got a demon-possessed person over here. You got to come quick. We've been wrestling with this thing for 4 hours. This little girl's throwing people around the room. Pastor, you got to come. You don't need me. You need the Lion of the tribe of Judah, who always causes us to triumph. You need to know how to speak his name with authority and find a place in his presence. You want to cast out a demon? Fill the room with glory. Sing of his beautiful name. Bring his presence. Create the environment of the kingdom. Demons have no tolerance, because it's a reminder that he always leads us in triumph. And the battle was way over when Christ said, "It's finished." And the same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead came into the body of Christ and raised them up out of their brokenness and made them to always triumph in Christ. He leads us always. Don't you wish he'd left just some wiggle room? Just so we could have a pity party every once in a while. But even less, a little bit of wiggle room, we could have a really good pity party. We could talk about how bad it's been in this battle with all kinds of stuff. But he leaves us no place to glorify our struggle. He leaves us with this testimony. Praise be to God, who always causes us to triumph. Yes! In all these things, we are more. Not just conquerors. Not just those who have been able to enter in through the gate of the triumph, but more. What does more than conqueror look like? God, I'm with you, Jeff. Let's go. Oh, but there's just nations that are really hard. They've kind of been burned over with the gospel. And it's been a really hard culture for us to get a foothold in. Thanks be to God. Who spreads, the next line, he spreads the fragrance of his presence. When the triumph comes into the city, they come in with the most precious smells and the censers. And they burn the most beautiful smells that they could find in those conquered lands. And they bring them in and they let everybody in the whole place experience the smell of the victory. What happens when we come to the altar of incense? We lay our lives and we say, God, I don't know what this is going on, but I worship you. Almighty God, there's none like you. I worship you, O Prince of Peace. That is what I long to do. I give you praise, for you are my righteousness. I worship you. I worship you. The Bible said that those words, to those that are becoming part of the kingdom, that are entering in, they are words of life and hope. The smell is a smell of victory, and it's a fragrance of established peace. But to the vanquished foes, it's a smell of terror. It's a smell of terror. Worship team, why do you think you have such a horrible time of keeping peace when you're trying to get together up here to worship? Worship team, why do you think the enemy wants to go after your marriage? Why do you think the enemy wants to go after your kids? Why do you think the enemy wants to bring tribulation and trouble into your life? Because you're a fragrance. When you pour your life out there, when you open your mouth and the power of heaven comes out of it, when you sing of his glory and of his goodness, it's a sound to every person who hears it. To some, it's the sound of glory. When you started singing earlier, he's a beautiful, what was the song? Beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. And I watched as Zach's heart opened up and he just began to pour out those songs. It was a fragrance to my heart. I said, I don't care what else is going on in my life, you're beautiful. I don't care what I'm facing, you're beautiful. Curled in a fetal position in the middle of the field with dust and dew mixed on my head. Your loving kindness. Your loving kindness, it's better. It's better than life. I will fill this place of my brokenness. I came in broken, but I've been in worship and I've found his presence. He will lead me in triumph, and I will go out with joy and be led forth with peace. And the mountains and the hills will break forth before me. There'll be shouts of joy. Because I've been in the presence. I've been with the we. Well, Pastor, I just don't need church. Bless God, I need we. Because sometimes I forget. Sometimes I want to use it. I just get the hell beat out of me. Or beat into me or something. Sometimes I just crawl in through the gate of the broken. But I need somebody to pick me up and dust me off. And remind me of who he is. Gideon, thou mighty man of valor. Oh, you mighty man of valor. You don't have any idea who you are. You have no idea what you care. You have no idea about your DNA. You think your DNA has already been established. But I'm coming here And I want to introduce you to a new family. You think you're in the wrong place in your birth order. Your birth has somehow marred you, broken you, made you less than. I have really good news. He always causes us to triumph. I have notes. Somewhere. That was my introduction. Go back with me to that scripture in Romans chapter 8, if you would, if you still have it open there. Let me see if I can find these. Y'all talk to your neighbors for a second, would you? Whoa. What shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? Yet in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Jumping back up to the verse. Sorry, my Bible doesn't have the one with what shall separate us. 35. Thank you, guys. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation? Listen, John did such an amazing job last night of saying respond. I'm going to give you a chance right now to respond. In these moments, these next few moments, we're coming in for a landing. These next few moments, I want you to respond. Because this is important. When God gave us a list in the middle of this love chapter, he gave us a list and he said, here's some things you can check off and say, these things will not have dominion over you. These are the things that will bow in the presence of his love. When you're in his presence, these things cannot stand against you. The residue of seasons past that have shaped you and marred you and polluted the concept of who God says you are will not stand when his love surrounds you. The fear of your past coming back, the fear of your future not being what you hoped, all of those things are lost in the place of his love. If I'm talking about you in any one of these places, I just want you to stand up to your feet and just say, I'm going to go through that gate. During the triumph, both gates are open. When the triumph is happening, when the triumph has been declared and it's the day of his glory, it doesn't matter if you come in broken. It doesn't matter if you come in as triumphant. You're all one people. And he always causes us to walk in triumph. So we have absolutely no right to look and see, well, they're struggling. Well, they're this, they're that. They're well, someday they'll get it. It's not ours to judge. Because on the day of triumph, it doesn't matter if you're broken or if you're triumphant. You're his. And you're coming to the right place, and both gates get swung wide open. And those who have never been able to enter through the triumphal gate, they've only been able to go out. Now they get to come in triumphant. Oh God, give us some people at church that come in triumphant. That don't come dragging themselves up the center aisle every week. Give us some people who walk in triumphant. Because there are people coming in the other gate that have never known how to come in that gate. They've never even thought about being able to come in that gate. He says, switch their concept and let them know that He's the God who always leads us in triumph. And they're part of us. They belong before they ever behave. They belong before they ever believe. We assume that because the days are days of triumph, the gates are open, and we don't have to protect ourselves from those people. We had the... Can I tell this, Jay? We had the cops called on our youth group last week. Drugs falling out of the kids' pockets. I don't know if Jay's got any calls yet, but it's going to be, we got to get those kids out of our youth group. What are we going to do? They're bringing drugs into our trip. Listen, when the gates get open, the broken people are going to come. What, do you want to slam the gate and only leave the triumphant gate open? Are we going to make the church such a sanctuary that it's only the perfect that get to come in? Or only if you know how to put on a good enough mask? We're going to open both gates. Come however you are. That lady that stands at the harbor, give me your broken, give me your poor. Bring them on. Because there's a kingdom here that changes everything. And you've come to the right place. I want to go through the list. Tribulation. It means to be pressed out. To be pressed. To be so pressured by your circumstance that you don't feel like you can do what God called you to do. Pressured. It's tribulation. The enemy keeps you so off balance by just pressing against you and keeping you off your feet. Pressing. Pressing. Tribulation. I'm pressed. My finances are pressing me. My family situations are pressing me. They're just I can't. Every waking moment, I'm thinking about this, and I can't think about that. I can't go there because I'd love to do this, but I'm pressed. You guys can stand anytime you want to. I'm standing. Okay, here we go. I'm pressed. Distressed. Pressed into a narrow place, making it impossible to operate or move. Tribulation. To be pressured. Burdened. Weighed down, distressed, pressed into a narrow place where you cannot move. Persecuted. Somebody's beat you up. The power of their words have opened wounds. And you are bleeding. And you want to hide because you've been persecuted. And you've given up and you just said, I don't want to go there. I don't want that. Persecuted. You can stand anytime you want to. Famine. Famine is what you've planted hasn't come. And what you've hoped for has been deferred. Famine is when it started to come up, it got snatched away. You've been stolen from and robbed of the thing God promised. Famine. It causes hunger in the land. I'm so desperate. I'm so hungry. I don't have what I need. There's famine. What I've poured into others, what I've watered in others is not coming up in my field. It's eaten by locusts. It's hindered by pestilence. Nakedness. lack of clothing, brought to shame, stripped of your reputation, looked down on, made fun of, living in shame, living with your head down instead of your head up, nakedness. Perils. 2 Corinthians 11:22. Could you throw that up on the screen if you can? 2 Corinthians 11:22. This word it's a very obscure word in the language. So I was looking for the definition, and I went over to 2 Corinthians 11:22. Go to the next verse. 23. In labors, in stripes, in prison, in death. Next verse. Beaten by the people in the church. The people that should have been championing me beat me. Next verse. Beaten with rods. You're beaten with rods after you're judged harshly. Somebody thought it was their duty to punish you and to bring you into subjection. That's a peril. It'll beat the life out of you. 3 times I was shipwrecked. Even the nature seems like it's against me. The winds and the waves and the clouds. It seems like everything in the world's against me. I was shipwrecked. Been in a day and the night in the deep. Been drowning. Go to the next one. In journeys. I've had to move from here to there. I've been a refugee from the church. I've been going from church to church trying to find a place where they'll let me in the door. In perils of waters, I've been swept away. Thought I was standing, and all of a sudden this flood came, and my feet went out from underneath me, and I don't even know where I'm at now. It took me to another place. Can't even find my people. I can't find my place where I belong. I can't find my place where I live. In perils of my own countrymen. Some of this we bring on ourselves. And we all have been on Facebook. We're stupid enough to post on one of those political posts. And now you've been abandoned by people that should be your friends. They're your countrymen. You both love your country, and you both want the best for God's godliness to come to the region. You just have really different views of how it ought to happen. But you can't walk together because you're on the opposite side. You have a D or an R at the end of your name, or you refuse to go with them, and they don't. You need to just stand up and say who you are. Why do countrymen beat countrymen? We both love the same things. We want a kingdom where the king is king. Perils of the Gentiles, those other people. You know, those ungodly people, or if you're a pastor, you know, those other churches. We won't go there. In perils in the city, perils in the wilderness, perils in the sea, perils among false brethren. Brethren that say one thing to your face and something else behind your back. It hurts, it's supposed to, because it's not right. It doesn't belong in the kingdom. What are you going to do? Triumph. I think that's it, but go to the next one. Oh, yeah. In weariness. Is he your victor in the middle of your weariness? When you feel like you've given all you had to give and you don't have anything else. Does he lead you in triumph? Can you find a place where he lifts you up? He says, come follow me, be close. In sleeplessness, do you wrestle with your pillow? Because of the brokenness all around you and the things you love and people you love to pour your life into, and some of them won't receive it. Some of them are so needy and so hurtful. It pulls the life out of you and you don't know what to do with it. You just lay awake at night and try to dream of another way that you could love them. But you can't. So you spend all your sleeping moments wrestling. If you're a pastor and you don't struggle with that, I worry about you. If you're a prophet and you don't spend some sleepless nights crying over the things God shows you in the spirit realm. If you're an apostle and you don't look out over the church and spend some sleepless nights saying, God, what are you going to do with this mess? But in all these things, in the center of his love, there's a place of peace. Were we done with that? It went away. Anyway, his promise is his power released. When he roars, he's going to do something. The fact that you've been in this service on this morning and heard this message, when the lion roars, his promise is his power released. Worship team, come.